Get ready, because we're diving into 50 of the rarest muscle cars ever produced. From legendary icons to nearly forgotten gems, these cars will make any gearhead's heart race. Let's start with a true classic. Number 50, 1969 and a half Dodge Super BA12. First up, 1969 and a half Dodge Super BA12. This car was Dodge's take on a budget-friendly muscle car. It is essentially a rebadged version of the Plymouth Roadrunner and a high-performance version of the Dodge Coronet. Dodge wanted to create a car that didn't cost very much but could go the distance, and they nailed it. The Super B has great looks and a performance to match. This Super B has a top speed of 117 miles per hour but can reach 30 miles per hour in 2.5 seconds. The A12 package in this car also meant that it handled well, and with an exterior that looked inspired by the racy cars and Hot Wheels, there was no reason to fall in love with this car. If you couldn't afford premium options like the Dodge Charger RT, Plymouth GTX, and Coroner RT, then you'd fall in love with this Super B. At only $4,000 in 1969, Dodge was practically giving these cars out. But this is only one out of 50 of the rarest muscle cars ever. Number 49, 1977 Pontiac Can-Am. Next on the list is the Pontiac Can-Am, a beautiful car forced into rarity by chaos. The Pontiac Can-Am was unique, classy, luxurious, and clean. The fact that all 1,133 Can-Ams came exclusively in cameo white made. This car was a quiet luxury that many rich folks at the time just loved. The Can-Am was made for classic car cruising, so it came with a TH400 automatic transmission, driving an incredibly easy experience. It's no wonder so many people wanted to get their hands on his car. As many as 2,500 orders were made even before the Pontiac Can-Am went into full production. However, disaster struck midway. One of the most attractive and unique features of the Pontiac Can-Am was its fiberglass spoiler that added the cherry on top of a deliciously white cake. After only 6 months in 1133 Can-Ams, the mold Pontiac was using to create its unique fiberglass spoiler got damaged. Instead of replacing it, GM executives decided to can the Can-Am project, ending the run of this fantastic vehicle and pushing it into the realms of muscle car rarity. While the Can-Am is nothing short of incredible, it doesn't come close to this next car that Ford calls the Boss. Number 48, 1969 Ford Mustang Boss 429. At number 48, we've got the 1969 Ford Mustang Boss 429. Ford had big plans for a new 429 Ci V8 engine, aiming to use it in NASCAR. But to make it legal for racing, they had to sell enough to regular folks who wanted to take it for a spin on the streets. However, NASCAR and the streets don't mix well. The Boss had a beastly engine that was better at tearing through tracks than everyday cruising. The factory claimed the engine churned out 375 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque, but in reality, it was way more ferocious than that. Sure, it could be a bit grumpy when you weren't driving like you stole it, but hit the gas, and it unleashed a lot more power than advertised. Ford's Boss is still one of the coolest Mustangs ever to hit the road. A true legend with an attitude problem, but then don't all bosses come with that? If you're looking to buy this rude dude at an auction, then be ready to cough up a lot of dough. One Boss could easily go for $330,000, and someone bought one for $605,000. Next is another super rare vehicle from one of GM's more luxurious brands. Number 47, 1987 Buick GNX. The 1987 Buick GNX is 47th on our list. In June 2024, a car thief in Boston happened on a GNX like this one and just couldn't resist driving it. Using a screwdriver, this thief was able to break into the Buick and went on the joyride of a lifetime. The thrill will be short-lived as the same GNX ended up on a flatbed the next morning. The joyriding thief had crashed it into 20 other vehicles before leaving the car and leaving it in terrible condition. You can imagine the horror on the owner's face seeing his incredibly rare car totaled. But that's not the worst part. This Buick GNX had already spent a full year at a workshop for restoration that set its owner back $150,000. If restoration cost that much, you can imagine how much he spent buying the car itself. Classic.com values the car at $174,528, but at the right auction, it could go for way more. What makes the Buick GNX so expensive and mouth-watering to drive? It is essentially a mysterious black car that churns out more than its manufacturers give it credit for. On top of that, you wouldn't know this was a sports car unless you took a closer look at it, or you were really into cars. If Batman was an oil baron, he'd probably drive a Buick GNX. The GNX clocked 60 miles per hour in 4.7 seconds and had a top speed of 125 miles per hour due to government restrictions. Add its 300-plus horsepower and limited production and dealer markups, and you'll understand why the Boston car thief deserves life imprisonment. However, the GNX looks like a poor man's option next to this next car that was sold for $3.3 million at an auction. Number 46. 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona. Now, let's talk about the 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona, a car that recently sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $3.3 million. Just like every other car on this list, the Dodge Charger Daytona is a rare beast, and one of the most collectible cars out there, but it's not as rare as some of the cars on our list. So why will anyone pay so much for it? To put it mildly, this particular Dodge comes maxed out with a 426 CI engine, a 4-speed manual transmission, and a list of features like its 4.1 Super Track Pack option that will make even Jay Leno green with envy. While it comes so early on in our list, the Dodge Charger Daytona is only behind 3 cars for the most expensive muscle car ever sold. All 3 other cars are on this list, so keep an eye out. Now, it's time we kick things up a notch. We are about to enter another realm of exclusivity, as only less than 500 of the following muscle cars were ever produced. Number 45. 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1. First in this new realm of exclusivity is the 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1. The Buick GSX Stage 1 is one of the most powerful classic muscle cars you're ever going to see. It packs a punch with its massive 7.5-liter V8 engine, delivering a solid 360 horsepower and a jaw-dropping 510 pound-feet of torque. This muscle car can rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.5 seconds, a pretty impressive feat for the 70s. The front suspension featured an independent coil spring setup with unequal length control arms, while the rear was supported by a 4-link suspension system with coil springs. This combination made the GSX Stage 1 not just powerful, but incredibly composed on the road. After all, with great power comes even greater control. Or is it responsibility? The most recent GSX Stage 1 sold went for $162,000, but average sales for this Transformers-looking car is somewhere around $136,000. Today, the 1970 GSX Stage 1 is one of the most sought-after muscle cars of the era, and for many, it's Buick's greatest muscle car. Some might argue this next car isn't exactly a muscle one, but just give it a chance. Number 44. 1971 Ford XY Falcon GTHO Phase 3. Moving down under, the 1971 Ford XY Falcon GTHO Phase 3 was Australia's answer to the muscle car mania. During the 60s and 70s, the muscle car mania didn't just rev up engines in the US, it made its way to Australia too. The local branches of Ford, GM, and Chrysler got in on the action, cranking out high-performance versions of their homegrown models. Among the Aussie greats, the GTHO Phase 3 easily stands out and is essentially a homologation special based on the Falcon GT. The GTHO Phase 3 wasn't just a dressed-up Falcon GT. It came packed with major performance upgrades, like bigger brakes, a beefier suspension, and a larger fuel tank. But the star of the show was its custom-tuned 351 CI 5.7-liter Cleveland V8, modestly rated at 300 horsepower. Back in the day, this beast earned the title of the fastest 4-door sedan in the world, capable of sprinting from 0 to 62 miles per hour in just 6.4 seconds and tearing through the quarter-mile in 14.4 seconds. Only offered in 1971, this legendary model was built in a limited run of just 300 units, but only about 100 of which are still kicking around today. This next car doesn't kick, it slides. Number 43. 2000 Ford Mustang SVT Cobra R. Next on our list is Ford's 2000 Mustang SVT Cobra R. This car stands out as the fastest factory-produced Mustang and boasts a 5.4-liter V8 engine developed by Ford's Special Vehicle Team, SVT, generating an impressive 385 horsepower. With this powertrain, the Cobra R could rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.4 seconds and complete the quarter mile in 12.9 seconds, reaching a top speed of 170 miles per hour. It was designed to excel both on the track and the road. The Cobra R's design emphasized high performance. The car featured track-ready brakes capable of halting from 60 miles per hour in just 127 feet. To enhance agility and reduce weight, unnecessary amenities and comfort features were stripped away. Inside, Recaro racing seats offered substantial support during high-speed cornering. The exterior was outfitted with dual side-exit exhausts, a front splitter, and a high-mount rear wing, all contributing to improved stability and handling. With only 300 units produced and available exclusively in Performance Red Clear Coat, the Mustang Cobra R puts the special in SVT. Our next car is super, and just like Superman, it had only one flaw: it came too early. Number 42. 1973 Pontiac Trans Am SD455. The 1973 Pontiac Trans Am Super Duty 455 was born as the muscle car era was winding down. Even though it was equipped with the Super Duty 455 engine, initially rated at 310 horsepower, this Pontiac Trans Am is still a step down when compared to its predecessors. Pontiac only managed to build 252 units of the 73 Trans Am SD455 before the switch to the 74 model year. The 74 model is also rare, with roughly 1,000 examples produced before the SD455 was discontinued due to further regulatory changes. Because of its limited production, the 73 Trans Am SD455 is highly valued, with Hagerty estimating its worth at $116,000 in good condition. In contrast, the 74 model is valued at around $44,700 in the same condition. Seems like the company just kept watering down one of its most recognizable vehicles. Up next is another easily recognizable vehicle from Pontiac. Number 41. 1968 Pontiac Firebird Ram Air 2. Coming in hot is the 1968 Pontiac Firebird Ram Air 2. With only 246 examples ever built, 199 of them with a 4-speed manual transmission and 47 with an automatic, this GTO is a true gem. The 1968 GTO primarily featured the original Ram Air package for most of its production run, with the Ram Air 2 introduced as an option later in the year, though Pontiac didn't treat it as a separate model. Despite this, the Ram Air 2 was a significant upgrade, offering superior performance thanks to tons of specially developed components. Its time in the spotlight was brief, as it was quickly succeeded by the Ram Air 3 in 1969. However, many enthusiasts argue that the Ram Air 2's real-world performance outshines that of the 3. Where do you stand? This blend of exceptional performance and rarity has kept the value of the 68 GTO Ram Air 2 high. According to Hagerty, a good-condition Ram Air 2 is valued at around $86,000, but the most pristine, Concours-ready models can easily reach into six figures. This next car gives us a much-needed break from Pontiac. Number 40. 1963 Ford Galaxy 500 Lightweight. Next on our list is the 1963 Ford Galaxy 500 Lightweight. This car represents a high watermark in American drag racing history, built with a singular goal: to conquer the NHRA Super Stock class. Ford's approach was strategic and innovative, focusing on slashing weight while packing in raw, unbridled power. Under the hood, the Galaxy 500 Lightweight was powered by a 427 cubic inch V8 engine that blasted an impressive 425 horsepower. This engine was a marvel of engineering, featuring high-flow cylinder heads, a solid lifter camshaft, and dual 4-barrel carburetors. With a 4-speed manual transmission, it could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just over 6 seconds, a blistering pace for its era. To earn its lightweight moniker, Ford made extensive use of aluminum for the bumpers, hood, and fenders, and swapped the trunk lid for fiberglass. Inside, any non-essential features like sound-deadening material, heaters, and radios were stripped away. These modifications shaved off about 425 pounds compared to the standard Galaxy. Despite its formidable performance and engineering excellence, only 212 units of this racing legend were built for reasons best known to Ford. Can you talk about muscle cars without Donnie Yenko? One of his many special cars is next on our list. Number 39. 1969 Chevrolet Yenko Camaro. Up next is the iconic 1969 Chevrolet Yenko Camaro. Don Yenko teamed up with General Motors to craft a limited run of specially modified Camaros. Built on the first-generation Chevrolet Camaro and originally released in 1966 to rival the Ford Mustang, the Yenko Camaro was all about taking performance to the next level. Under the hood, the 1969 Yenko Camaro packed a powerful punch with a 427 cubic inch V8 engine, delivering impressive power and acceleration. But Yenko didn't stop there. The car was also equipped with upgraded suspension and braking systems, turning it into a street-legal speed demon. Visually, the Yenko Camaro made a statement with its bold Yenko emblems on the grille and rear panel, aggressive lines, and optional racing stripes that only added to its intimidating presence. Today, the 1969 Yenko Camaro is a prized collector's item, celebrated for its limited production, top-tier performance, and timeless design. Yenko was always pushing the boundaries of what was possible with muscle cars, and Pontiac did the same when it made the next car on our list that became one of the fastest cars of the 60s. Number 38. 1962 Pontiac Catalina SD. The next car is Pontiac's Catalina Super Duty. Aside from being one of the rarest Pontiacs ever, the Catalina Super Duty was also one of the fastest, reaching 60 miles per hour in just 5.4 seconds. Strange? Don't worry, we understand. The Catalina was designed like an everyday car, but its impeccable speed and its 421 CI aluminum V8 engine that churned 465 horses made this car a beast on the racetrack. However, it can be pretty frustrating trying to drive the Catalina Super Duty outside the racetrack as its handling is not suited for everyday commutes. However, this little problem has not stopped many car enthusiasts from chasing this sleeper car at auctions. The only problem is Pontiac made only 162 of these pure sleeper racers. So, they are pretty rare and most owners love Catalina too much to part with it. It's no wonder that in the past 5 years, only 4 of these cars have been put up for auction and only one has been sold, so good luck. If you do want to buy one regardless, you best be carrying wads of cash because a Catalina in fair condition can set you back $48,000. A good one will cost $64,000, and a preem one will set you back $100,000. It's no Dodge Charger Daytona, but this mundane-looking sleeper car is pretty valuable, however. In a bit of speed, it's losing to this next car from Plymouth. Number 37. 1970 Plymouth Hemi Superbird. Next on our list is the fastest muscle car of the 70s, the 1970 Plymouth Hemi Superbird. There is no doubt that this car was built for racing, and it excelled. The Hemi Superbird was one of the first cars to break the 200 miles per hour barrier, which made it an overnight success at NASCAR. Plymouth wanted to leave its competition in its rearview mirror. So, after fitting this heavily streamlined car with a monstrous V8 engine, the engineers played around with aerodynamics. They gave this vehicle enormous wings to fly, and it did. In the end, 1,935 street-legal Superbirds found their way to buyers, with the race version clinching the 1970 Grand National title. Among these, only 135 units were equipped with the legendary Hemi engine. Today, these rare Hemi Superbirds are highly coveted, often fetching millions at auctions. One standout example is an orange Superbird that made headlines when it sold for a whopping $1.65 million at a Barrett-Jackson auction in 2022, setting the bar as the most expensive of its kind. The Superbird was like the Plymouth Roadrunner in many ways, including a nudge to Looney Tunes Roadrunner. However, while the Roadrunner had the animated character's badge, the Superbird's horn was made to sound like the animated character, making this vehicle truly special. Number 36. 1964 Ford Thunderbolt. Another Ford makes it to our list. This time it's the 1964 Ford Thunderbolt. Ford took performance seriously with the Thunderbolt, implementing several weight-saving measures. The car was designed with a singular focus on drag racing. Only 127 units of this beast were ever produced, making it a rare and iconic piece of automotive history. The 64 Thunderbolt featured fiberglass hoods and bumpers, plexiglass windows, and stripped-down interiors, all designed to enhance speed and agility. Under the hood, it roared with a 427 cubic inch V8 engine, delivering a staggering 425 horsepower. Paired with either a 4-speed manual or a 3-speed automatic transmission, this powerhouse could blaze through the quarter-mile in the low 11-second range, a feat that was nothing short of spectacular for its time. Next up is an ultra-rare Chevy with a special engine. Number 35. 1970 Chevrolet Nova LT1 Copo. Number 35 is the 1970 Copo LT1 Nova, the rarest Chevy muscle car with a small block from the 70s. As the Camaro project wound down in the early 1970s, Yenko set his sights on the Nova, adding his signature performance tweaks to this compact model. He ordered 125 Novas through the Copo, or Central Office Production Order Program. These came equipped with the small but mighty LT1 small block V8, an engine typically found in Camaros and Corvettes. This 350 cubic inch powerhouse delivered 360 horsepower straight to the Nova's rear wheels. Yenko also chose the Copo 9737 package, making these Novas more than just fast. They were complete performance machines, built to dominate the streets. This package included an upgraded suspension system with beefier springs, improved shocks, and new sway bars to handle the extra power. A limited slip differential was also part of the deal, ensuring that all that horsepower made it to the pavement effectively. Once Yenko got his hands on these cars, he added his personal touches, swapping out the wheels for his own custom design and fitting extras like a hood-mounted tachometer and distinctive Yenko decals. These final touches made the cars not just high-performance machines, but also unmistakable on the road, unlike this next car that feels like you've seen it even in this video. Number 34. 1993 Ford SVT Mustang Cobra R. Next on the list is another beast from Ford's special vehicle team, the 1993 Ford DVT Mustang Cobra R. The 1993 SVT Mustang Cobra R holds a special place in American muscle car history as the first of its kind, designed to be the ultimate expression of the Fox body Mustang. Ford's special vehicle team spared no effort in crafting a car that emphasized raw performance and racing pedigree. To achieve this, SVT engineers stripped away 450 pounds of excess weight and fitted the Cobra R with the largest brakes they could muster. The car received a strut brace and a V-brace to enhance shell rigidity, ensuring a robust driving experience. The braking system featured heavy-duty 13-inch Kelsey Hayes vented rotors up front and 10.5-inch vented rotors in the rear, making it a formidable performer on both the street and the track. Under the hood was a 5.0-liter Windsor V8 engine, delivering 235 horsepower at 4,600 RPM and 280 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM, with a compression ratio of 9:1. Performance stats for the time were impressive: 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.7 seconds and a braking distance from 60 to 0 miles per hour of 140 feet. With only 107 units produced, the 1993 SVT Mustang Cobra R remains a rare and sought-after gem for enthusiasts and collectors alike. Alright, folks, buckle up because, for the remainder of this video, you're only going to see cars with less than 100 units produced starting with this next Mustang. Number 33. 1970 Ford Mustang Twister. First on our under 100 category is the 1970 Ford Mustang Twister, conceived in 1970 for American Raceways International, ARI. These Mustangs were intended to serve as pace cars and limited editions featuring distinctive side stripes and graphics. However, the ARI met bankruptcy and Ford's Special Promotions division had to pivot, repurposing the concept into a special regional promotion for the Kansas City Dealer Sales District. Named after the frequent Midwest tornadoes, the Twister Special saw 96 Mach 1s receive a unique makeover. Each of these rare models was painted in vibrant grabber orange and came with a black interior. The cars featured a functional shaker hood scoop, power steering, and power front disc brakes. What set the Twister Specials apart were their bold black mid-level side stripes and tornado decals on the rear quarter panels. As top-tier Mach 1s, these models were equipped with grille-mounted fog lights, aluminum lower rocker panels, a black honeycomb rear panel, competition suspension, and a 3.50 traction lock differential. This Ford Special is now among the rarest and most sought-after Mustangs, making them a prized find for collectors. Next is another rare Ford of a different caliber from the Twister, and unlike any car you've seen on this list. Number 32. 1966 Ford Fairlane 500R Code. Next is the Ford Fairlane 500R Code. Released in 1966, this vehicle marked Ford's serious entry into the high-performance arena dominated by GM and Chrysler. At the heart of the R-Code Fairlane 500 was Ford's legendary 427 cubic inch side-oiler V8 engine. This side-oiler design referred to the engine's unique oiling system, which prioritized the main bearings for improved reliability under high-stress conditions. The R-Code 427 was packed with high-performance features, including forged pistons, high-flow cylinder heads, a hot camshaft, and dual Holley 4-barrel carburetors. These enhancements allowed the engine to produce a conservatively rated 425 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque, making the Fairlane 500R Code one of the most powerful cars of its time. Despite its extraordinary performance, the R-Code Fairlane 500 was a sleeper in terms of appearance. Its understated exterior was largely indistinguishable from the standard Fairlane 500, except for a few subtle cues. The most noticeable of these was its fiberglass hood, which featured a prominent scoop designed to feed air to the high-revving 427 engine. Inside, the car was equipped with a dash-mounted tachometer, hinting at its true performance potential. The 1966 R-Code Fairlane 500 production numbers were extremely low, with only 57 units built. This car had us at tachometer, but it can't match this next car that is a famous racing legend. Number 31. 1963 Chevrolet Impala Z11. Next on our list is Chevrolet's 1963 Impala Z11. Arguably the meanest Impala ever produced, the Z11 was born during Detroit's drag racing craze. A lightweight Impala fitted with a massive 427 cubic inch V8 engine and a descendant of the legendary 409. The Z11 unleashed a jaw-dropping 430 horsepower and a colossal 575 pound-feet of torque, making it a force to be reckoned with on the strip, well before Chrysler's 426 Hemi entered the scene. Stripped of all unnecessary equipment, this Impala became the first stock car to break 120 miles per hour in the quarter-mile. Among the Z11 legends is Old Reliable, the most iconic of the bunch, which dominated the drag racing world with a 90% win rate during the 1963 and 1964 seasons. With just 57 units ever built, the Z11 is one of the rarest Impalas around, and also the most expensive. Pristine examples can fetch over $350,000, with the original Old Reliable holding the record at an impressive $525,000. Okay, let's switch things up a little bit by bringing not one but two different cars that are identical twins. Number 30. 1967 Dodge Coronet W023 and Plymouth Belvedere R023. Let's talk about two drag strip legends from 1967, the Dodge Coronet W023 and the Plymouth Belvedere R023. These two road-legal beasts were built for one thing: speed. On the surface, they were almost identical, with a few minor tweaks and badges to tell them apart. But under the hood, they packed serious heat. Mopar's brand new 7-liter Hemi V8, pushing out 425 horsepower. These cars were stripped down to their bare essentials. No radio, no heater, and in many cases, no rear seat. Even the battery was moved to the trunk for better weight distribution. And speaking of weight, the Coronet took things even further with a unique setup: lighter brakes in the front and heavier ones in the rear to give those slicks extra grip off the line. Only 55 of each were made, making them rare, road-legal dragsters designed to dominate the track. And if you think this is wild, wait till you see what's coming up next with the 1970-71 Plymouth. You won't believe what they did with that one. Number 29. 1970-71 Plymouth Hemi Cuda Convertible. Next on our list is this 1970-71 Plymouth Hemi Cuda Convertible. Plymouth didn't produce many drop-top versions of the Cuda back in the day. Only 21 Hemi-equipped Cuda convertibles were built in total, just 10 in 1970 and 11 in 1971, making it a serious contender for the rarest American muscle car title. The low production numbers were partly due to the car's hefty price tag, which was on par with other high-performance legends like the aforementioned Ford Mustang Boss 429 and the Shelby GT350. The Plymouth Barracuda underwent a complete redesign for the 1970 model year, and for the first time in its history, it was finally eligible for the mighty 426 Street Hemi. The dedicated Hemi CUDA trim packed an incredible amount of power into the relatively compact pony car, making it the quickest Mopar of the classic muscle car era. Up next, we have a model from Oldsmobile, equipped with advanced outside air induction. Number 28. 1966 Oldsmobile Cutlass 442 OAI. Next up, we have the 1966 Oldsmobile Cutlass 442, a true symbol of muscle car excellence. In 1966, Oldsmobile produced a limited number of W30 models specifically designed for stock drag racing. Under the hood, these machines roared with a 400 cubic inch V8 engine featuring triple two-barrel carburetors. This powertrain delivered exceptional performance and cemented the 442's place in muscle car history. Although only 54 of these special W30s were built for racing, Oldsmobile made it possible for enthusiasts to upgrade their 442's with high-performance dealer-installed options, making these cars even more sought after by collectors today. Whether it's the raw power or the timeless design, the 66 Cutlass 442 continues to turn heads and command respect on the road. Number 27. 1971 Pontiac GT 37 LS5. Next is the 71 Pontiac GT 37 LS5. You are forgiven if you had no idea of this super special car from Pontiac, as it is often overshadowed by the more famous GTO. Positioned below the GTO in Pontiac's lineup, the GT37 was far from ordinary. The base model came with a 350 cubic inch engine delivering 250 horsepower and an optional 455 cubic inch engine. In its LS5 form, this engine cranked out 335 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque, offering a substantial boost in performance. Overall, the GT37 is rare, with just over 5,800 units produced for the 1971 model year. However, the LS5 variant is exceptionally scarce, with only 54 units built. Valuing such rare and less-known variants can be tricky due to limited market data. For a standard 250 horsepower GT37, Hagerty estimates a value of $12,700 in good condition. Number 26. 1969 Nova Yenko. Midway through our list is another Yenko special, the 1969 Nova Yenko. The second addition to the 1969 Yenko lineup was the compact Nova. Unlike its siblings, the 1969 Camaro and Chevelle, the Supernova was initially ordered in factory SS spec, featuring the 375 horsepower, 396 cubic inch big block V8. However, Yenko took things up a notch by swapping out each car's original engine for the L72 427, transforming these already impressive machines into some of the wildest cars Yenko had ever sold. With this upgrade, the 1969 SYC Nova could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.5 to 6 seconds. Okay, we're switching gears again. Only 20 units or under of the following cars were ever produced, starting with this popular beast from Chevrolet. Number 25. 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle 454 SS LS6. Next is the 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle 454 SS LS6, which is as rare as a gem. The Chevelle was already a formidable muscle car, available with a variety of small and big block V8 engines. But the 1970 model introduced the LS6 upgrade for its 7.4-liter V8 engine, adding a single 4-barrel Holley carburetor that boosted power to 450 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. Like many muscle cars of the era, the LS6 came with an intentionally understated power rating to keep insurance premiums in check, meaning its actual output was likely over 500 horsepower. For a greater portion of the classic muscle car era, General Motors had an odd restriction against engines over 400 cubic inches in its midsize cars. This limitation kept Chevys from competing with the big hitters from Mopar. However, in 1970, GM finally lifted this ban, and the Chevelle SS was among the biggest winners, becoming one of the most potent and sought-after muscle cars of its time. Good luck trying to get your hands on one. You'll be better off trying your hands on this other option from Chevrolet. Number 24. 1967 Chevrolet Corvette L88. Next is Chevrolet's 67 Corvette L88. Officially rated at 430 horsepower, the L88 was a genuine beast, but the real story was far more impressive. Designed to run exclusively on high-octane fuel, the 1967 L88 often delivered significantly more power than its advertised rating. Many enthusiasts believe the engine produced between 540 and 580 horsepower, placing it miles ahead of other great muscle cars of the era, such as the Mustang Shelby GT500 and Dodge Charger. At first glance, the 1967 Chevy Corvette L88 might seem like just another C2 Corvette, but it's far from ordinary. With only 20 units built for the 1967 model year, this Corvette is exceptionally rare. What sets the L88 apart is its powerhouse 427 cubic inch big block V8 engine, which boasted a forged steel cross-drilled crankshaft, forged connecting rods, aluminum pistons, a high compression ratio, robust lifter camshaft, aluminum cylinder heads, and the largest Holley carburetor ever fitted on a GM production engine. Let's take a break from Chevys and look at one of the most iconic Pontiacs ever. Number 23. 1971 Pontiac GTO Judge Convertible. Next is the 1971 Pontiac GTO Judge Convertible. While the Judge was a popular nameplate in its coupe form, it didn't garner as much attention in the drop-top version. The Judge was discontinued after 1971, and even the coupes are hard to come by, with only 340 examples produced. The GTO Judge was equipped with Pontiac's most potent engine at the time, a 7.5-liter V8 that delivered 335 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque. This engine was part of the Mountain Performance package, which was standard on the Judge. 1971 marked the end of the second-generation GTO and the discontinuation of the Judge performance trim. Despite its horsepower being modest compared to the 454s and 426 Hemis of the era, the 71 GTO Judge was surprisingly quick and impressive in its own right. Only 17 of this bad boy was made, so if you want one, you're going to need a lot of money and a lot of connections. Up next is another Pontiac convertible with a little pizzazz that saw it sell for $1.1 million in 2023. Number 22. 1970 Pontiac GTO Judge Ram Air 4 Convertible. Next is the 1970 Pontiac GTO Judge Ram Air 4 Convertible. As one of the rarest and most coveted Pontiacs ever made, the 1970 Pontiac GTO Judge Ram Air 4 Convertible commands a hefty price tag. So it wasn't quite a jaw-dropper when a pristine example sold for a staggering $1.1 million in early 2023. This sale makes it the second most expensive Pontiac ever sold, trailing only behind the one-off 1954 Bonneville Special Motorama concept car. Most GTO Judge models don't hit such lofty numbers, but this particular example's rarity and condition pushed it to record-breaking heights. Only 17 GTO Judge convertibles were produced with the Ram Air 4 option, and among those, just 7 had an automatic transmission. The car that fetched $1.1 million was in showroom condition thanks to a meticulous full restoration. It wasn't the only high-profile sale of its kind that year. Another of the 17 sold for $572,000 at the same auction, and a third went for $445,500 in May 2023. Collectors certainly had their wallets out for these rare beauties, and knowing just how fast these guys can go, it's no surprise. This next car is a bit of a surprise, and if you're lactose intolerant, you may want to skip it. Number 21.